So while I was hustling,
Hmm.
yo, it's happy hour at the hotel. So I was like, all
No,
right.
it's all good. It's
I
all
was like,
good.
look,
I get it.
it's happy hour at the hotel. Nobody's around to tell me no. I'm just gonna like swoop in real quick and just get that and run away. So there we have it. It's good. The lady was like, "Do you want Cabernet or Merlot?" And I'm like, "Actually, I really don't care. As long as it's a red wine, I'm cool." I guess
Yeah.
I could have tried to get a beer, but they were all like the American beers, and I didn't want any of that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to. I don't want to say settle. That's not the appropriate word. But I'm like, just give me the red wine, and then I'm just gonna GTFO, or literally, I'm just gonna lose my mind.
Are you at the same place?
Yes, I'm at the same place. So just in case you guys wonder, like I'm in a hotel room here in Dallas because I'm working this week, and it has been a crazy week, and I'm just getting in, like literally just getting in. But anyway,
Yeah. And we've been
Ooh.
trying to get together, sync up for a minute here, and we just had my brother is in town visiting for the week, so um, his birthday was on Friday, so we were out doing escape rooms and stuff on Sunday. Saturday was just a crazy day of running around, and so it just hasn't quite worked out, to sit down and do this. But we've got 30 minutes, 40 minutes right now, so I had to bring up a topic that I was blown away by. Um, and I know I just sent over the article, but Trump versus Afghanistan. I'm not really sure why we have to talk about this in 2019. The war's been fought for a long time in Afghanistan, but yeah, yesterday Trump was quoted, and I don't want to misquote him, God forbid. Don't give him credit for everything he says. If we wanted to fight a war in Afghanistan and win it, I could win that war in a week. I just don't want to kill 10 million people. Huh. Um, if Afghanistan would be wiped off the face of the earth, it would be gone. It would be over in literally in 10 days. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to go that route. So
what?
Afghanistan is big
Hold on.
mad.
Wait.
Um,
This is why we do this. By the way, just to give some people some context. Looks like I've been working my ass off personally for the past like couple days. So I'm like so out of the loop. It feels like in the past 48 hours. But wait, he said what? This is crazy.
yeah,
Okay, keep going. I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna drink to that.
So if we wanted to fight a war in Afghanistan and win it, I could win that war in a week. I just don't want to kill 10 million people. At least there's that, I suppose. But anyways, Afghanistan is big mad. The Afghan nation has not and will never allow a foreign power to determine its fate. A spokesman for the president of Afghanistan said in a statement, given the multifaceted relationship between the United States, the government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan calls for a clarification on the U.S. president's statements. Now, if there's one thing we know about the Cheeto in chief, the president of the United States, he won't make any amends for the things that he says. And that's one of the biggest complaints, one of the criticisms that most people have for him is that he won't admit when he's wrong. This
Yeah.
is easy to joke about anything when the president says something that's so off base, but this is serious. This is really something that the minute I heard it, I thought, what a horrible message to send to the people who still have soldiers fighting in Afghanistan, who still have people who are helping to rebuild Afghanistan, which the United States government is contributing to.
Mm-hmm.
Part of Trump's comments were that he doesn't feel like the United States government should be responsible for that, that they are the police of Afghanistan in a way. And if that's the case, then you're talking about wiping the country off the map. Are you including them on that 10 million people? Are you including
I
10
would.
million innocent Afghanistans? Are you including women and children in that? I mean, it's such a crazy thing to hear anybody say about any country ever in 2019.
Why would
But the
anyone
fact that
say it? Like I
the
mean, like
president of the United States is saying it about a country that we've done a fair share of damage to, and I think rightfully we're sticking around to make sure that their republic is rebuilt in a way that they can succeed. Not because we're policing them, but because they've been very effective in helping to fight terrorism. The government has. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a strange thing to hear from the president of the United States.
I guess like I just keep going back to it. I'm trying to think of the motivation to say it. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things I could do, right? But like, why would I say it? Like, I don't know. I could go on my balcony right now, take a nice little R. Kelly piss and make it rain on people But like, why would I say that? I know that seems like out of the blue, but to me, this seems like that out of the blue. Like, why would you say like you could do? I guess you could do anything, right? But why
Yeah.
would I don't know? Why would you go there? It's just a
Well,
weird dark place to go to. I'm
and I
I'm
would
taking
really
it as
like
wine.
to, yeah, I would really like to comment on, like, draw some context as to why he said that, but there really isn't any. He was asked a question about his meeting with Pakistan,
Okay.
and he said Pakistan could really help out with our relationships with Afghanistan. By the way, we could wipe Afghanistan off the map if we wanted to. And we really could. I mean, we could really kill, but I don't want to kill 10 million people. But we could really do that. So I think our meeting with Pakistan is going to be great. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. The conversation like didn't flow. The quote didn't really. I mean, I don't know if he's just trying to. One of the things that this president does that I think we could really draw from when he does something and says something that's so crazy is how concerned he is with trying to control the news cycle. Right now,
There we
tomorrow,
go. Now we're getting somewhere.
yeah, tomorrow, Robert Mueller, the special counsel for the now infamous Mueller investigation, the witch hunt, is setting up to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow, tomorrow morning. I'm not sure exactly what time,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say Trump's a little nervous about this. The
He should be.
latest story that I saw here said that so Robert Mueller is going to be testifying under oath. He's going to be sworn in. He will be under the oath to say and to speak.
Now, Jeremy,
Yes,
if
yes,
you don't mind, let me ask you just for again
yeah.
for context for people who may not know. So he was actually originally scheduled last week, wasn't
There was. Sorry, one second. I've got a
he?
CNN article in my ear. There was talk about it happening earlier. There was something that held it up. I'm not sure what the exact details were on what held it up. But this is something that he has been fighting for. He's been trying to get to publicly testify. I would say, personal opinion, I think since the Mueller report was released, simply because of how out of context it was taken in the conclusion
Mm-hmm.
from the chief of staff, or not the chief of staff, but what's that guy who replaced Jeff
Well,
Sessions?
Well, why you think about it for a second? The
Yeah,
reason why I mention it is because one thing he does very well, and by the way, I agree with you, Winston. Everything he does say is strange. I think a part of it, and just like even arguably, we can fall into it to a degree. Meaning, he says sometimes outrageous things to your point to control the news cycle and to get people to shift their focus. And so we know that originally Mueller's testimony was supposed to be, I believe, about a week ago, and they changed the date because I know it not only does it coincide with something, but also it would give him more time to speak tomorrow. And so I think that a part of the strategy is from the Democratic side is you want to get more time for him to speak so you can ask more questions, you can gauge a bit. But he's known to do things, and I think Vaughn just cleared it for us. Yes, he postponed in exchange for extending the length of his testimony. So that
thank you,
was it.
Von.
Thank you, Vaughn. And so we know he did that, which was a smart move, meaning from Mueller and the Democrats to do it. But back to the point of he typically, meaning the president, will typically say outrageous things to divert attention, right? Like it's a very good tactic to do because the American people, we have like the worst form of ADD, so we will get so stuck on what he said in the current news cycle, the outrageous, that it kind of overshadows what's really happening, which again is a good tactic from his standpoint of view. But I would even ask, I bet you it's not even, it's like in the single digits of how many people in the United States actually read the Mueller report. So this is going to be very interesting.
Well, and yeah, so what I was referring to earlier, William Barr, the Attorney General, his interpretation of the Mueller report, or his summarization of the Mueller report,
Mm-hmm.
summary of the Mueller report, is what I think drove the conversation to such a misleading point, which is that Trump was basically he didn't do anything wrong, right? That was the conclusion that most people came to with the William Barr version of the Mueller report. So I believe that at some point Robert Mueller realized that it was taken so far out of context that he wanted to do this. He's been wanting to do it for a while. And he's still fighting to it to this day. So he's going to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to have his deputy, Aaron Zebley, sitting right beside him. And Aaron Zebley is a guy who has a lot of information, and they've been trying to get him to testify as well. And that hasn't happened yet. So what Mueller made a last-minute request on I guess it was today he made this request to have Aaron Zebley also sworn in, so that if there was a question that Robert Mueller could not answer, or if there was something that couldn't be really discussed, that he could then refer to Aaron Zebley and say, here, can you take this, or can you answer this question?
Mm-hmm.
Regarding this specific request, President Trump weighed in on Twitter, saying, very unfair, should not be allowed. So you think maybe there's a little bit of a reason. Again, I don't know how much information the president has about what information has been shared between the special counsel and his team, and what the public doesn't know that maybe wasn't in the report. But I've always said that the way that Trump has referred to this as a witch hunt, and some of the ways that he's referred to this whole investigation, is that he has something to hide and that he's nervous about what might be found. I think he got away with something, or he feels like he got away with something, which is why the only thing that he's ever publicly admitted to regretting is removing Jeff Sessions from office, because he did so because Jeff Sessions would not
unrecuse himself.
Right. Yeah. And so I wondered at the time, I always thought, it's because he knows that this might be the downfall of him as president, or he might be caught for something. Something might be found out. And he got away with it. But now I'm curious to know how much he's sweating about something else coming out tomorrow.
So here's a few things. So first, let me point out, Gary put, here's a real problem with the president who lies about things both large and small. In times of trouble, we need to be able to believe what our leader says. In 9/11 event, Lord forbid, how would we be able to believe our president? And in Vaughn, the percentage of Congress who read, meaning the report, is even scarier. And I'm laughing at you, Rudy, with your best president ever gag. Okay, so a few things here. First off, it's not a witch hunt when, I'm 36. I want to say it was 37 because I remember it was near my age. Like 37 indictments.
Yeah.
Like people, and look, when people around you are going to jail, that's never a good look. Like regardless, like I don't care how you try to dress it up, it's not a good look. And so for when it comes to his involvement, I'm going to be very curious here for what it comes out. And Gina Arnold, more than happy to have Trump testify if you like. Exactly, but he doesn't testify because so country. He don't testify. So yeah, and I mean he wouldn't. He dodged it. He uses lawyers and this sort of thing to dodge it. And I'm sorry, like when it comes to this sort of thing here, the truth is going to come out. And remember what happened with Nixon. Nixon was in very positive viewpoint during his presidency. It wasn't until those tapes were revealed to the public that things quickly did a landslide, and he went through the process of impeachment, even though he eventually resigned versus being forced out. So Rudy says, yep, you said he was going to win. I know I said there's no way in hell he could win. He did, but here we are now. But you know what? Here we are. So it's very curious to see what's going to happen in 2020. But, hey, look, we all make mistakes. So with that, it's just going to be really interesting. And yes, by the way, I did laugh because Trump is ridiculous. He still is ridiculous, and I will still laugh at how ridiculous he is, even though right now I just don't think it's a really funny topic. But anyway, so I'm just very curious to see what's going to come out of this, and I think it's really important. The timing's so interesting as well because, Mueller tried to leave it up to Congress. And the only way, and let's be clear here, the only reason why Trump has not been given an indictment is because the sitting attorney general, Barr himself, believes that you cannot indict a sitting president. Let's be very clear on that because Mueller also said if we could exonerate him, we would have said so. So I think this thing is really going to really blow up in his face, and there was a lot of internal documentation coming from the Trump administration that he was very concerned about his presidency. And look, the guy, I don't care how you want to color it up. Look, dude is shady, my man. Dude is shady. Say whatever you will. If the results, whatever that is, that you believe it is what you want. Look, this guy's not presidential.
Well, and there's, since the Mueller investigation began, there's always details and specific questions that have been asked that you just look at it and you say, there's something that doesn't smell right there. There's something that doesn't pass the sniff test. The Trump Tower meeting with Russia is a prime example of that. The Steele dossier, certain components of the Mueller report that could not be included because there wasn't evidence necessarily that was good enough for a special counsel investigation, doesn't mean that there's still not a story or as they say, a there there. Mm-hmm. The point of tomorrow's testimony, I think, is for the full story to be told in a way that's more palatable to the American viewer and a way that's more accessible to the current mainstream political sort of information binging.
Mm-hmm.
A report, a however many page report that you couldn't even ask somebody to sit down and read who's in government, much less somebody who's just on Facebook, going through it. Yeah, these matters of politics are not discussed that way anymore. They're discussed in memes and in videos and in moments that are big like this one. It makes me kind of think back to when Trump's personal fixer Michael Cohen went in front of the House Judiciary Committee.
And where's he, by the way?
And he's in prison.
Oh.
And the reason he's in prison is because he made some really bad mistakes for the president. And whether it was out of, sort of spite or for whatever reason, on his way into the big house, he went swinging. And he made some pretty astounding claims about the president. I remember listening to that. The one takeaway that got me was this is somebody who considered the president to be part of family, and the president the other way around as well. This was a very important relationship between these two individuals, a friendship, a professional relationship, definitely a security bond of you've got me, I've got you. And one of the things that Michael Cohen said is that he is not an honorable man. He did not ever think he was going to win the presidency. He doesn't want to be president. He is a racist. He says all of these things that confirms, the talking points of the media. And you have to ask how credible could a guy like Michael Cohen be? Sure. Any credible or less credible than the president of the United States?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Look at Vaughn's.
If we find out something tomorrow that we, have all been thinking, and we hear it in those plain terms under oath, it may not resonate with Trump supporters. It may not resonate with people who think he can do no wrong, but it certainly gives some sort of, clarity on some questions that were asked that weren't answered by the report.
Well, look at this one here, Vaughn, right? He said, and this is true, this is a quote, "This is the end of my presidency. I'm effed." Trump on May 17th, 2017, and the day of Mueller's appointment as special counsel. Look, it's very clear. Trump didn't like anybody taking notes or documenting things. Because one thing you don't do when you're doing shady business is you don't document things. Like, that's rule 101. That's why the dude's good at not getting caught for certain things. But look, everybody makes mistakes. He has also been emboldened. He's going to make those mistakes. And Rudy, I definitely do not agree with this assessment. You said we are way better off now than if your girl Hillary would have gotten to office. I disagree with that. First off, we'll never know, right? We can say the economy's been still running well, right? Which again, it's got its longest streak. You can thank Obama for that, which I don't think you want to do, but you have to. And here we are. So no, I just don't agree with that. And of course, I think Winston spoke out, by the way, Mr. Speaking of Rudy, you don't know that, nor can you prove it. 100%, right? And this is something that, no offense, Rudy, but Trump supporters they believe in alternative facts. Just like, I guess, alternative lifestyles, alternative endings, whatever. But look, no.
And to that point, too, with Hillary, I said this when voting was happening. I said this during the 2016 election. The only reason that I would ever vote for Hillary Clinton was if she ran against Donald Trump. And the reason for that is because between those two people like to say the lesser of two evils. I don't think it's that at all. I believe more in people who voted for Hillary Clinton holding Hillary Clinton accountable for the things that she's done wrong than the people who voted for Donald Trump holding him accountable for the things he's done wrong. And I think that's proven to this day. If Hillary Clinton was in any sort of scandal that was anything close to what we saw with the 2016 election, or had said any of the things, I mean, she got publicly lambasted for saying basket of deplorables, and Trump's talking about wiping an entire country off the map, killing 10 million people.
Or, by the way,
and we don't even bat an eye.
Or just letting people say, send her back, chanting, and then saying like, oh, I don't approve of that message, but then at the same time justifying it, right? Like, come on, right? Like, dude, you know where this dude sits. And then Vaughn again, Rudy, whether you get hit by a train or a bus, right? Oh my goodness. And so alternative lifestyles, the only thing we can, first of all, I meant to go to women's restrooms. I don't even know what you're trying to say there, Rudy. So I'm just going to stick to the topic here. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. No, it's, that's what we're looking forward to. Tomorrow's a big day. If I could live stream it, I would. Unfortunately, you and I both have a lot of work we need to do. So we'll just have to do it from the sidelines a little bit. But We'll definitely have to summarize for the viewers one of these either tomorrow night or the night. I don't know what time your flight gets in. We'll have to coordinate that.
Oh yeah, we got time
I'd be
tomorrow.
willing. I'd be willing to do a late night one too if it's anything
Yeah.
really juicy.
Which, by the way, the funny thing is, Winston, right over here. Winston, I'm going to be literally in your front yard, New York City. So I've always tried to catch up with him. Winston, he's a great dude. But anyways, got to catch up with you soon, my friend.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens, but the two topics of this episode, I think, kind of do coincide when you see something like that with Afghanistan, where you say something so outlandish and just disrespectful to the point where an entire government is just basically throwing their hands up, going, "What the hell? Like, what? We were helping. We were doing the right thing. We were trying our best to help eliminate things like terrorism, and you're turning around and you're saying something so horrible that you're just going to kill 10 million people and wipe us off the map in 10 days. It's insane."
Let me ask you a question, and I'm laughing at you, Ty. So, do you think possibly by some of the language that he's using, if you think about it, does he, in a sense, kind of inadvertently is growing a terrorist network? And when I say, I know, when I say like growing a terrorist network, I mean when you say such hatred things or such very like vile and outlandish things, it's almost like you make a case for people who want to do harm to our country to say, hey, look, you see, this is how America feels about us. This is how America feels about you. And I think that right there can grow a very dangerous network of people who don't really understand how the mass majority of us Americans think. Like, prime example, anytime, I get to go to, let's say, South Korea for work, and I see all my counterparts around the world, I'm kind of hearing the same things. Like, you Americans, you look like you're literally losing your shit. Like, you guys are crazy. What's wrong with you? Right? Or if we're super nice and we do, certain things that I guess are just not expected, people say, oh, I'm just surprised that someone from America would behave this way. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean behave this way? Like, this is like the majority of people, right? And I still believe this, whether they're Trump supporters or not. The majority of us are actually like very caring people. But this is the reputation we're gaining around the world. And I think, in a sense, that can come back to bite everyone.
Yeah, I mean, directly to the north, we have a neighbor in Canada who is watching a lot of this from their own lens of, they've got pretty much the opposite thing going on. A lot of people, conservative folks in Canada are thinking the same thing about Justin Trudeau. He's just sort of putting this liberal lens on everything. They're watching this going, most of them are on the same boat as most Americans saying this is crazy. We're like an episode of the Twilight Zone. But a lot of them are starting to be emboldened by somebody like Trump, somebody who challenges that political dichotomy that just is so standard and so people are so used to, that they're starting to find like, who is the Canadian Trump? So I think that speaks more to the fact that there are people who are definitely put off by the fact that there's a growing message that's being sent by that message of Trump, which is all of the horrible things that he says, all of the sound bites that you can use against him. That's definitely empowering people's distrust for America. I don't think there's any question that people are sort of watching, laughing from a distance at the greatest country in the world. But it's very strange to me that as Americans, we're ignoring that, and we're ignoring the fact that there very well could be. I don't remember if it was during the election, but somebody said they're using Trump's words as literally recruiting for terrorist cells for ISIS to be able to grow that population and grow that people that just hate Americans because that's the words of Americans. Look at what North Korea is doing. It's the same thing. It's the same basic propaganda, which is that they're looking at this and they're probably using that same thing. I don't know what's going on with North Korea, how they feel about us now. Part of me thinks they're laughing at us, and it's just not even like, death to America. It's just like, wow, those clowns over there, like this president just walked on our soil and didn't even do anything. Like Kim Jong-un's got him in the bag. I don't know if that's the message that's being sent, but yeah, this is definitely something that has to be considered, and it could be potentially dangerous if we don't look at that as something for 2020.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's just going to be interesting coming through. And, Winston right here, it's the reason I'm rethinking the Fourth Amendment. I become more afraid of my government every single day. And it's so interesting, too, right? Because the Republican Party is usually known for it's like less government, this sort of thing. But imagine, I don't know, just some of the rhetoric that I keep hearing from the current president is almost like a support of a police state, right? I mean, like when you get bikers and some of these, like, other members and you kind of use them as like a taunting tactic, it's just really weird, man. It's just weird. Like I just can't get behind it and I don't understand it. So I know there's going to be some indifference there. Not everybody's going to agree with that. Some people may interpret it differently, but I mean, it's just getting to the point where it's like, you know, if he could serve, or I shouldn't even say if he could serve. No, no, no. If people would support Trump serving a third term, I think there are plenty of people and himself that would support that. And I'm like, if you support that, then you don't respect the current system that we have in place, right? The checks and balances. And so when people say that all the time, oh, I would let him serve a third term. I'm like, no, look, I wouldn't let anybody, Obama, Clinton, Bush, nobody, zero people serve a third term because I believe in the institution. And when we start getting behind the person and we treat the person as an institution, the person as a country, that's where things get sideways quickly. And
Yeah.
I just don't understand where people are coming from on that. Like to me, that's just not cool. You have rules and things in place for a reason. And for somebody who's supposed to uphold rule of law and preached about it,
Yeah, no, it's I mean there's a lot of double standards you could use and without getting too far into that discussion. But we'll just have to see, tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow could be one of those monumental days that gets written in the history books. It could also be very bland and nothing special. But I would encourage everybody out there to tune in to the local news. Any 24-hour news network, I would assume, is going to carry it. Definitely CNN will be carrying it. I would assume
so many.
MSNBC, Fox News, maybe Fox News doesn't carry it. We'll see. But yeah, definitely check it out. And we'll plan, you and I at least by Wednesday or Thursday, we'll plan to do a show. We'll talk about what was said. We'll go through the sound bites, and we'll give the viewers a taste of exactly what some of those things mean. But for right now, I'm going to go watch The Lion King with my younger brother and my wife. And thanks everybody for the comments. You want to close it out, Terrence?
Yeah, so wait, first I gotta ask, who chose this movie?
Yeah. So we already seen all the Marvel movies, so it's one of those ones. To be honest, The Lion King is my favorite Disney movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say, like, it was probably my choice just by nature, but it was also like my wife wanted to see it, and he's in town for 10 days. He doesn't know what he's doing around here. He doesn't know anybody. He doesn't he doesn't live here. So we were like, hey, we're gonna go watch a movie. He's okay, cool, sounds good. So, but yeah, looking forward to it. Gonna see see if all those reviews are accurate or if maybe the critics are out of touch. We'll see.
Well, let us know. Well, look, everybody, we appreciate it. I appreciate the comments, the ones whether we agreed or disagreed. We appreciate it. And tomorrow, I say we definitely got to come back for sure. We'll make it happen.
Yeah,
All right,
we'll
everyone.
figure it out.
All right, have a good one.